Let's imagine that I'm retired. I plan to spend a lot more time fishing, tending my garden, going on nice holidays, and in here drinking this stuff. But why should you, as an investor, worry about how I spend my dotage? Well, the answer is because if you own shares in my former employer, you could indirectly end up paying for my retirement and those of many others like me for decades to come.
Most younger workers are enrolled in what is known as a defined contribution pension. That's where employees and employers both pay a percentage of the employee's current salary into a pot, which is invested.
So how much she gets to spend on beer and crisps in her retirement depends on how well the investments that she's put in her pension perform. In other words, she bears all the risk.
The employer pays annual pension contributions so long as the employee is still working for them, usually a couple of % of their current salary. That cost goes through the profit and loss account as a cost of doing business, just like salaries or office rents. However, that is not the case for the other type of pension, known as a defined benefit scheme, that is typically enjoyed by older workers and those who are already retired. Defined benefit pensions guarantee a pension income, often at around half of the employee's final salary, for as long as he or she lives. Plus, they get an annual inflation uplift too. Clearly, that creates a long line of payments that the employer must continue to pay, stretching years or even decades into the future. The challenge for finance directors is to work out how big a pot of money must a company save now in order to keep all its pensioners in beer and crisps for as long as they live.
Figuring all that out entails quite a lot of guesswork. How high will inflation be in the future? How long will I live, and how long will all my colleagues live? And what will investment returns be many decades from now?
Once you've figured all that out, the current value of defined benefit pension liability is added as a single number on your balance sheet. With current low interest rates and people living longer, that number can be very large indeed. BT, the UK telecoms company, has pension liabilities of £47 billion, even though its defined benefit pension scheme has been closed to new members since 2001. RWE, a German utility, has pension liabilities that are almost the same as its stock market value. Clearly, arriving at these numbers is more an art than a science, and as the assumptions change, the liability can change dramatically. But if a scheme is in deficit right now, then a company must put more cash into its pension, and every pound of real money poured into a pension scheme now is a pound that can't be invested in the business or paid out as dividends to shareholders. For instance, British Airways did not pay dividends at all for several years. Instead, it paid money into its pension scheme to reduce the deficit. Its German counterpart, Lufthansa, has endured a series of expensive strikes owing to disputes over pensions, and several US airlines have defaulted on their schemes. In extreme cases, retirement obligations can render a company insolvent, as happened to Scottish knitwear producer Dawson International back in 2012.
Pension deficits are important and they shouldn't be ignored. But amidst all this gloom, there is some good news for investors. Another one of those, please.
Sure.
Most companies have recognised the problems and are dealing with them, either by closing defined benefit schemes to new joiners, by paying in more, or by limiting benefits paid in retirement.
But at some point bond yields will rise. That's important because bond yields are the basis for the discount rate calculation. A low discount rate means your pension savings don't earn much income, and that increases the present value of the liability. But as interest rates rise, so the income picks up and the present value of the liability decreases. So maybe the pension glass is half full rather than half empty. Cheers.